Okay, I'll call the meeting of the Carroll County Commissioners for September 10th to order. First item on the agenda is public input. Do we have any public input? Seeing none, I will ask the approval of the minutes of
September 3rd.
Yes. September 3rd.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes of September 3rd.
Have we got any corrections?
No,
Do I hear a second?
I haven't seen it. I thought you were going to second and then we could discuss it.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay.
Do you have any corrections to September 3rd?
The only suggestion I would make has got nothing to do with these minutes exactly, is she puts in all of Jason's reports. When he makes it out, can't we just have that stapled to the back of the minutes? That's
Yeah.
what they used to do, rather than have her take all the time.
Yep.
Nice to have him here, but it seems to me it'd be a waste of her time.
With the exception that I'm not sure we should disclose who the inmates are. And in his report, I think he discloses, no?
Sometimes he doesn't. You're right, it's on some of them.
Well, I don't think that's
That shouldn't be there.
for public knowledge. Numbers, fine,
Well, David, on the other hand, once they go to court, it becomes an open record.
but if they're pre-trial, have they gone to court?
Ooh, good point, good point.
Okay, any further discussion on correction of minutes? None?
At the walking trail, page 3 of 5, she
Yep.
wrote that she had volunteered to lead a project, the Witset Siemens of a talent. She was the chairman of the project, and she also reported one time at a public meeting.
Yeah,
So the way she worded that she had volunteered. That's the only thing.
okay, anything, that's it?
Yep, that's it.
All those in support of the motion then, say aye.
All right,
Aye?
As corrected, right?
as corrected.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye, so voted then by unanimous.
Also, can I make a comment?
Sign that.
Also,
As soon as you sign it, we'll go. Okay, I guess you're gonna make a comment? Go ahead.
Yes, I want to congratulate all the primary winners.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. As I said in the paper, in the Conway Daily Sun, I thought Asha Kenney ran a good campaign, worked hard for it, but was not successful.
Also, I'd like to, it was very nice of Asha to make that comment, and I think we ought to thank all of the people that took the time to run for office, even if they were defeated.
Mm-hmm.
We need more people to participate in government, and those that take the time and spend the money certainly deserve our congratulations.
Right. Okay, we do have a public meeting scheduled for 2 o'clock this afternoon.
You
Non-public.
forbid.
Non-public, I'm sorry.
You be a hearing, right?
What's that?
It's a hearing.
It's a hearing, yep, yep. Also, we need to take action on a court settlement at that time, or after that time, I guess. And I hope we need to take some action on, we had suggested that anybody that replaces somebody else on a temporary basis, that they be paid where it's a required position, that they receive something in addition to what they're presently getting. I would bring that up under the work session, I guess, but I want you to think about what kind of a range or percentage of the person that they're replacing. We're talking about the superintendent of the jail and also the DON, which are two required positions at the present time, anyway. Morning, Melissa.
Good morning, Melissa.
Thank you, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
Just here.
Come see me after another day. Thank you.
Bad service at Dunkin' Donuts this morning, or what?
I didn't go to Dunkin' Donuts this morning. It's my home coffee.
Want to do reports, David?
Sure, go ahead.
I attended the subcommittee meeting of the Mountain View community. On the agenda were review of rough draft of the floor plan, update progress of probation proposal, homeless veteran facility update, introduce possible kitchen rental proposal, and any other business that may have arisen. It was quite a long discussion about the old nursing home and the renting of it out between the kitchen. Mrs. Sandra Brokaw was there from Madison, who's sort of taken it upon herself to head up, seeing if somebody we can't rent the kitchen out to somebody. There was a lot of discussion, and it isn't the way I remember it. We've been talking about it for 2 years. There was some discussion about anybody that, if we don't tear down the front part of the building, and somebody rents it and uses it, it's their responsibility to fix the roof. Ed was there. I believe that he can confirm that that's what I heard, and he's shaking his head yes. I don't ever remember that discussion. I remember $1.1 million, $1.2 million, we were gonna fix the roof
Yeah.
and tear down the wings. I don't ever remember any talk about anybody renting the building having to fix the roof.
I don't remember that either. Only the inside construction
Right.
was to be paid by whoever rented or leased the space. So any conclusions, any recommendations that came out of the committee?
Help me yet, I don't have my notes. Well, maybe I do have my notes. I don't think so. They just wanted an update how things were going.
What was the update on the two wings that we're going to keep as far as for a shelter? Was there any update on that one?
No, that was one of the things, excuse me, there was an update. They want, at the next delegation meeting, they want somebody to come in from that group, and I presume that it's Mrs. Solomon, to tell them exactly where they are. Have they got the money? We've heard about a 501c3 being set up for 6 or 8 months now. They want to know exactly where she is in coming up with a finance for that, financing for the project.
But she still has until April
April 15th.
meeting, right?
Yep.
Okay. And anything regarding the probation construction?
No, except that we've got to get going on it. There was some discussion about how we're going to set the rate for renting it, but that was all.
Okay, we do have Bob Murray coming in under the work session to talk about the probation area. Anything else to report on? Ashley, you got anything to report on?
No, I just have a couple of letters on my desk. I see I got one from Boulieu.
Yeah,
I
Got
think
one what?
it's the final bill is now
Oh.
for the drafting, is it 15,000? Now he was going to do it by the hour, and but I
Yep.
guess he start probably over. And I see something from Rebecca Mason, she wants to have a decision in writing.
right.
And I think a couple invitations, I see one is about the felony case flow,
Yep.
and the September 19th. And there is another one from Health Direct, I believe he called me a few times at home. The people from Health Direct. And that is September 16th. And also this on my desk, September 20, the Mountain View Community, a family picnic.
Okay. Who are either one of you going to that September 19th? It's at the Holiday Inn in Concord. This is in regards to
NATO's.
NATO's. She came here and gave a presentation and encouraged us to go.
September 19th.
September 19th.
Let's just check this out. Oh, that's a Friday. Yes, I can go.
I got it scheduled to go to. Might be good if all of us went. I have just a quick report. I met with Lynette, and we've set up some dates for union contracts. I'm going to be here on Thursday morning. We will talk with Jason, Henry, Howie Chandler, and the sheriff from 8 to see what kind of changes that they feel management should make in the union contracts. That's Thursday morning. I've set up a meeting with the Freiburg Rotary Club for Jason Henry to speak next Tuesday, the 16th, at 7:30 in the morning. And I believe next Wednesday in the afternoon, we'll be meeting with Clausen and the department heads to talk about, again, what management wants and a strategy for union contracts. And on Friday the 19th, it's a Holiday Inn in Concord.
And what about the 16th, the Health
The
Direct?
16th. Say that again?
The 16th, there is also another invitation, an invite about Health Direct. He called me at home, he said it is for county officials. They invited all county officials
Who's that from?
from Health Direct.
Yeah,
Oh, Health Direct,
Yes.
that's on my desk, yeah.
I can't make that one, I
That
guess.
is September 16th. Let me see.
So if somebody else would go to that, it'd be great.
Yeah, I can go.
On Monday, the 22nd, I'll be in Concord as chairman of the awards committee for the New Hampshire Association of Counties. We're meeting at 9:30 to look over the nominations.
Oh, you're on the awards committee too?
This is the awards committee for the New Hampshire Association of Counties annual banquet.
So how
As
many-
past president, I'm chairman of that committee.
Oh, so how many people from Carroll County are on it?
So far, I believe we have 2. I'd rather not talk about them because we try to keep it a surprise.
Who is on the committee? I'm not
Oh, on the
asking
committee?
who is getting an award. Yeah, how many people?
It's Gwinnett and myself.
Oh, okay.
And again, on Monday afternoon, we'll be meeting with the union on the 22nd.
But you are meeting with the union?
Yes,
That is-
yes.
Okay. And for Clausen, you are going
And
also?
Clausen,
Okay.
yeah, yep.
It's not for us.
We'll be meeting with the 3 unions Monday afternoon. I will not be here on Wednesday, the 1st of October. I have that week off. I'll be at Freiburg Fair all that week. And that's about. And our annual meeting of the New Hampshire Association of Counties, October 26th through the 28th. And we need to get reservations in as far as registration form is concerned. It's up in Whitefield. I definitely will not be staying over, so it'll be strictly registration.
You gonna drive back and forth to Eaton?
Excuse me?
You gonna drive back and forth to Eaton?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, if we move on now with,
May I ask you a question?
go ahead.
At some point, when you're meeting with Mr. Clausen, before that, do Asher and I get any
Yep.
input into what we as commissioners would like to see as perhaps some goals?
Yep. Certainly.
And does that have to be done in public, or is that because of union contract, is that non-public?
Be non-public, because it'll be talking about the strategy of union contract.
Okay.
And that would
I'd like to
be,
do that.
right now, it's scheduled for Wednesday the 17th at 1 o'clock.
That's for you and...
For you, for the Board of Commissioners, Clausen, and the department heads.
Oh, I didn't have that. When is
Okay,
that?
1 o'clock on Wednesday the 17th. I want to double check with Gwinnett on that, because there was some changes of whether Clausen could make that or not, but put that down in your calendar for 1 o'clock on the 17th.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? If not, Jason, you're on schedule. Well, a little behind.
I was a minute.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You got my message that
Yes,
you're gonna be the speaker on
I just need to know where to go.
the 16th. You don't know where to go.
I'll get that from you.
We can talk about it, okay? I can meet you in Conway, or I can meet you in wherever.
Yeah, thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Couple of things,
Gee. Go ahead.
goes up and down. Like John Monnery, I have 2 out, work release 1, transfers 2, nobody at the hospital, total population of 42. Sergeant Phillips and I attended, and also Winnett and Deputy King, past 2 days at a PREA training down in, hosted by Primex, with an outside vendor came in and went all over the PREA standards. Very informative. A lot of our policies already mirror PREA. We do have some updating to do, but it's
Mhm.
it was very informative. It was a good session.
What's the cost involved? Did they talk about any?
If you have an audit, but that's a whole different ball of wax. If you choose to have audit, there's no sense in getting an audit because we can't. Nobody in New Hampshire can meet PREA standards. One of the standards is 17-year-olds. Sight and sound separation. Nobody can meet that in New Hampshire. That won't happen till next July.
But we do accept 17-year-olds?
17-year-olds can be charged as an adult, state of New Hampshire.
So what are we gonna do with them?
Right now, you just can't be in PREA compliance, which is not, we're not going to find or anything along those lines. Next July, the legislative body already changed it to, we'll go back up to 18
Oh,
next year. So then that piece will be cleared up.
has that been passed already?
Yeah, it goes effective
So the
next
effective
July.
date is July?
Next July,
Okay.
which gives us time to, in the meantime, to beef up some of our policies and some of the things. But we're on task of what a lot of their standards already are. And it's you can go to their PREA website, it's a list by list, a list of everything you need.
Okay.
So,
Have you got somebody helping you with that, one of the sergeants, or
Sergeant Phillips.
Phillips?
Yeah.
Okay.
Phillips was another role, will be our PREA coordinator, because you have to have a PREA coordinator, and he is our designated PREA
Did they
coordinator.
mention how many inspectors they have?
There's 300 certified inspectors throughout the
300.
country right now.
None, any in New England?
Well, the one of the guys in our class was an inspector, actually in New
Oh,
Hampshire.
okay.
There are some.
Oh, there is one from New Hampshire?
Yep.
Oh, good.
But that is a whole other, if we decide to want to do the audit or not audit, and that depends once you have everything up where you want it to be. And then, that's a long-term, have to look at it if it's something we want to do.
Okay.
Question.
Go ahead.
Jay, if for some reason our facility isn't physically in compliance, can we be forced to make those corrections?
Long, short, no. The only thing right now that applies to the counties is, well, actually nothing really. If you're not pre-compliance on the state level, they get 5% less in, 5% less on their grants and their funding. That doesn't apply to the counties.
We don't get any of that money.
Correct. So it doesn't apply to us. The only thing that getting up to pre-standards and the audit would be is helping out with litigation come down the road. So we'll be up in compliance in case somebody did sue us, that we've met all these standards and we've been audited. Some places are going to do the audit, some places are not going to do the audit. And that's going to depend up on each county and and when you're actually ready, because going through everything you need, you want to make sure you're ready to do it. There's a whole process with it because you do negotiations with the auditors. There's no set fee, just like other places.
Yeah.
The government will tell you how much that person can charge, so you have to make phone calls. You could have somebody come in, fly from the West Coast, which still might be cheaper than somebody from the East Coast. So there's a lot with it if you choose to go down that road.
And that's through the Department of Justice?
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
I'm
what do we
surprised.
gain if we do it versus what happens if we don't? I mean, less
Nothing will
liability.
happen
Less
if we
li-
don't, but if we do get a surprise audit, then we could get a penalty.
No,
No?
they don't do a surprise audit. I don't, we don't have to let them in to do a surprise audit.
Really?
No. You choose the auditor, you choose what time they're coming, place, if you wanted to do the audit. And then
Yeah.
it's on a 3-year cycle. What it basically boils down to is liability. We want to make sure we're pre-compliant for liability purposes. Also, any federal contracts, if we're going to negotiate federal contracts like the U.S. Marshals, there may be an issue if we're not PREA-compliant with them being able to sign a contract, because they have to be PREA-compliant. So as I'm
So
working
it
through
may
the
have to
paperwork.
be, if we go that route, then we probably would have to ask for an audit.
It's maybe at some point, yes, if we go that route. Then the only thing that right now, besides some of our stuff that we can fix already pretty easily,
Mhm.
the 17-year-old is only, we would not be able to do right now, but nobody can. That's why it'll change next year. It's why the superintendents and legislators works very hard to change that law, so that way places can become PREA-compliant.
Yeah.
Now they're just looking to where they're gonna house the 17-year-olds.
So what are you gonna do now with a 17-year-old that's committed a crime? Take him to Concord,
No,
Manchester, wherever they go?
we still house them.
Okay, well, let me rephrase that. Next July, when the
They won't come to
17
us. They'll be considered a minor.
And then where will they go?
That's what the state's still working out, of where they're gonna house it, 'cause it's gonna put a huge bump somewhere, and so they're figuring out on their end. That's why it didn't get put into place until next year, because they still have to figure out where they're going to house them.
Would, In your meeting with other superintendents, any consideration given to consolidating county jails? For example, could we take all of Coos County's inmates?
No.
Any talk
Is there
about
talk?
that kind of a thing?
Is there talk? No.
No.
There's no talk about it. First, because I think you'd put a huge burden on the towns, because that means they'd have to drive to that jail from Pittsburgh, bring it down to here, if they had arrested somebody, or vice versa. That's why there's one in each county. It really would put a huge burden on the small towns to have one cruiser for 3, 4, 5 hours.
Oh, I see,
At-
for the deliver
Not just delivery, but then going back to court,
court.
back for interviews, anything along those lines. And a lot of small horse towns, it's just logistically.
But I wonder what the savings would be to the county.
I think if you figured out.
I mean, there'd probably be a savings, however, that county would have to pay something if their inmates are housed in another county.
Yes, you'd have to
So
pay.
it's not a complete,
No, because
savings.
you'd have to pay for them to be housed in the facility, plus all the departments paying their people, I'm sure at a much higher overtime rate to bring those people around the state to courts
yeah.
and everything else. So I don't know if you'd really make out any better than what
Okay.
you're at.
Go ahead.
Jay, you've got a total population here of 42. I can remember sitting where you're sitting here about 8 or 10 years ago, and the average daily take was about 75.
That's
Wasn't it,
right.
Dave, 73 to 75,
Yeah.
and that's back when we were going to build a new jail because we were overcrowded. Now we've almost got half of what we had then. First question is, are we keeping track of the total population in the same manner as they did before we built the new jail?
Well, you keep track of all intakes, outtakes, how many bookings, how many people on that
No,
daily
I
average.
mean on this, are we looking at the same, is this calculated the same way as it was 10 years ago before we built the jail? I mean, to me, it's mind-boggling that we had this crunch, we had to get a
Well,
new
this isn't
jail,
it.
and now we're half of what we had then.
This is just what we have in house right now. This is not an average throughout the entire year. We go
No,
up
no,
and
I'm
down.
talking about, we got the same thing every week back then, and it was 73 to 75, and I'm just,
I
were
think
there
an
other
average-
things on here that I don't remember that,
I think we're averaging about 55 is what our average is this year. I mean, it goes up and down, but I
Right.
think we're averaging about 55 offenders for if you do the entire year.
and you're gonna go on to number 3 and tell us about Rockingham, because I got some questions.
Yep. Rockingham County Superintendent, talked to him yesterday, and he is going to send us a standard contract, which we'll bring to the board, to house some of their female offenders, which they'll pay us to hold their female offenders. They send some to Hillsborough County and a few other places throughout the state. So they distribute them out and they pay for them. So we'll be able to take some.
How much do they pay?
I have to look at the contract when it's sent up, and then bring it to you guys.
So the same thing, what I brought up earlier about taking inmates from COA, the same thing's going to happen with Rockingham County. They're going to have to, or we're going to have to transport, depending on the contract, transport to their court facility, or anybody that visits a Rockingham inmate at our facility is going to travel up here. So,
They might, but they don't take, they don't house females, so that's why they're distributed out.
oh, they don't house females. Oh, okay.
Some places don't, Coos County doesn't house females either, they send theirs down to Grafton. Depends on your facility, depends on what you're set up for, depends what your population is, so.
If, I think the affiliates need to coordinate some of these things. For example, why don't we send our female inmates someplace
We got 3 or
else
4, why not send them out rather?
and take the 17-year-olds here? There may be more work than what it's worth, but if we could fill our jail up, and the counties pay us to house their inmates, that would look better for us, may look better for them too.
Well, that's one of the reasons why taking them and working on the Fed
Okay.
paperwork to take some
Okay.
more. create some revenue.
Are there any, is there any more information on the federal prisons, women prisoners? You filled out the application, is it completed?
No, it's not completed. The packet's about yay thick, and I've been with the business office, plugging in all the numbers.
Mhm.
I've contacted U.S. Marshal's office to talk to them. I've been on their website, talking to them back and forth. Talked to superintendents who have filled this out in the past. There's a lot of things inside of that
Yeah.
packet itself. So, yeah, I have been.
Is there any proposed date of completion?
Last time proposed date was done, it didn't work out so well, so I'm not gonna give a proposed date, but I am working on it.
Okay.
And I said I've made those phone calls, and next time you're over, Commissioner, if you would like to look at it, what I've done, so you can actually take a look at the pages. And
That'd be good.
I've seen how thick it is
So,
already.
and I can show you the website of all the stuff that I've been filling out, so.
Good, okay.
We still have an officer out, extended leave, that is still going through some battles with health. I just wanted to say thank you to the staff. There's been a lot of staff that from our own facility that's donated their sick time to help this young man out, so I'm pretty proud of them. Last week, as a staff, we participated in the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, or Lou Gehrig's Disease Ice Bucket Challenge. It's been all over the internet. Sergeant Fiandaca came forward and asked that if we could do it as a staff. Said, why not? We raised money.
This is volunteers, right?
Volunteers. We volunteer our own money. The only thing came over was the farm boss, Will, came over with the bucket loader. We loaded up ice into it, and then I
The whole bucket?
Yeah, water and ice. At 7:30 in the morning, by the way. Before my meeting in Concord, I came all up here and then jetted all the way back down to Concord for the superintendent's meeting.
Yeah.
And we called out on video every one of the other 9 counties and their superintendents to do the challenge as well. Hopefully I'll have it on our website coming up soon. It's on YouTube. There's a couple corrections that need to put into it. Sergeant Phillips edited it and he's just going to fix it. So that was a lot of fun. Staff had a good time. People came in on their days off and everything else, and we didn't, so and it was a good time. I'll skip number 6 for one second. We have the next academies in October. Can't remember if it's the 6th or 10th, but the next academy is coming up in October. We'll be sending 2 to the academy. Friday at Belknap County is our ex-jail user group, which is our new JMS, jail management system, that we're getting in the, actually it's being uploaded this week. Our going live date won't be for a little while until training and everything else, but the user group's been very helpful. It's once a month, and they meet about any issues they have, updates they want to put into it, reports. So that's over at Belknap County on Friday. The last thing I have, any news on the use of funds for the repairing of the roof?
Refresh my memory, that was put out to bid,
It was put out to bid.
and we didn't get any bids?
Not the first time. The second time I brought it, I did bring a bid, and then somebody else has come and looked at it too, so.
So we have 2 people that,
I believe we're getting a second bid as we speak.
okay.
The question is whether we can use the settlement money to pay for it or not.
To me, I don't see why not. It's got to be fixed.
Yes.
There are no other funds. In your budget, under repairs, is there any money there? No.
I think we probably have to go back to the delegation in October when they come in here and ask them if we can use the money. We're not talking $500 here.
What,
It's like 11,000.
don't tell us until you get all the bids in,
No.
what the price is. But it is over 5,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And I thought that maybe one, we're going to reach out to the delegation chair to find out if he even had to go to them, because it's sitting in a separate fund that was specific to the jail for the wall, which would be tied into the roof.
I think what you need to do is to encourage more people to bid on it. If you've got another one you're waiting for, give them a call and encourage them to get the bid in. And as soon as that is done, then we can go to the delegation. They're meeting in October, 10th of October, I think.
Yep.
And then we can get the approval to use those funds.
Okay.
Okay? Anything else?
That is all I have, sir.
Do you want to talk about the hospital expense?
Which one?
The tremendous hospital expense of somebody who was in our jail.
Well, we've had, in the last week or two, in the last 2 weeks, I've signed checks totaling $29,000 for medical expenses.
What do you have in your budget for medical expenses for inmates?
I don't know more on this week, but we're pretty close to probably being maxed. Two significant ones happened actually in the same week. That really hurt the budget.
And they are inmates.
Yes.
I'd like to get together with Sue. I did call one of those hospitals, and I don't want to put the number out there, but my number was the correct number, substantially lower than what she got.
Okay. Yeah, she said she would like to meet with you, so. get it worked out.
Whether these patients went to that hospital or not, I can't remember, but if they did, we get some more money coming back. If they didn't, we need to negotiate with
patients
the
went
other
to-
hospital.
Some of these went to several different hospitals.
Really?
Some was specialized. We go from one spot to the other spot. So, unforeseen stuff that came up, medical issues wise.
Okay. You got the word about meeting with me regarding union contracts? Hopefully you've got a chance to go over the union contract at the jail to see if management should make any changes.
A lot of that was done also last year, given to our labor lawyer, but I'll go over it again as well too.
Yeah, okay. Have they organized this new union? Have they organized so that they're ready to present their request?
I don't know what's going to happen. Usually at the first meeting is usually setting ground rules. And
Yeah, I know that.
And there's not a lot of negotiations. I'm not sure. They are meeting coming up though at the facility to talk about what they want in the contract. So I don't know what they'll have that day.
Okay.
But they're organized and
We're talking-
they pick their president and all that kind of good stuff
Yeah.
in-house. So they're good to go.
Did they keep the same representation?
For what?
Did the employees, did the union members keep the same representation they had under the old?
You talking about
union?
officers?
Yeah.
They were on there? No.
Do they
Negotiating
change
team.
them?
No.
They got a new negotiating team
Yes.
from the House of Correction?
Yes.
Okay.
I think, review your schedule or talk with Lynette, I think we're set for the 22nd to meet with the union.
Yep.
And hopefully,
That's what I have on my schedule.
we'll
And
move
then-
in that direction, but I'd rather see the union come up with what their requests are as soon as possible, so we can get started.
My experience with NCUs, they will want to get started as quick as possible, and they will present stuff forward.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
if you have the opportunity, Jason, make it clear to them, we want to have these things settled by December 1st, so we can put it in our budget.
Delegation has stated there will be no retroactive. If they don't get it approved by,
I was there, they made strong suggestions to the commissioners, but, and I'll express my opinion again, that they cannot tell you what to do in a
Union
union
contract
negotiation.
is subject to delegation approval.
For funding. I agree. But I think
Ultimately, they hold all the cards.
but like I said in the meeting, I think it's a slippery slope
If they want to do that, they can do that. It's out of our hands. It now becomes the delegation's problem.
and
If the union wants to pursue some other avenue.
I think
Okay.
they're tying your hands. That's-
Because I'm the representative from the Board of Commissioners, I want to have union contracts all done by the middle of November, so that our budget can go in the 1st of December with the contract already in there. Whether it gets approved by the delegation, that's further along, but as far as our budget is concerned, it gets in then. If it doesn't get in then, I don't know what's gonna happen, but that's the goal. Okay. Get anything else?
No, sir.
No?
David?
Yep.
While he's here, is his non-public time, we were supposed to do his evaluation this week. I got mine done, I don't know about you two, but
No, I didn't.
he's supposed to get it done, you know.
Yep.
We have an obligation to employees when their time is up, or review time to do it, not keep pushing it off month after month after month.
Correct.
We've had
We
this,
haven't-
she got this 2 weeks ago. or-
Have we, is that what is scheduled at 9:45?
I don't know.
You have
I thought
something-
Jason would know.
You have something scheduled for non-public, 9:45?
Is it your evaluation or is it something else?
There's something else.
Something else, okay. All right, we'll see you at close to 9:45, I guess.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Howie. Bob, we're gonna have you on the work session. You can come up with him if you want to.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Howie.
Morning.
Good morning. Have a couple of things for you. The biggest,
How's your operation?
it went well.
Did it?
It went well.
Looks like
so-
you got a black eye.
Yeah, he beat me up a little bit, but that's compared to the first one, I'm seeing much better. And
Really?
just need glasses for reading now, so.
Really?
And
Great.
apparently it'll get better over the next 3 weeks, so
Great,
then I can get permanent glasses.
good for you. Go ahead.
Big
Sorry.
issue, I had sent you a memo on August 22nd about Medicaid managed care. And last week we met, we being the affiliates, most of us, met with the Governor's Commission, including Commissioner Tumkus, to talk about that. And the situation keeps going from bad to worse. Essentially what the state is doing is implementing Phase 2 for long-term care, nursing homes, on April 1st, 2015. Sadly and unfortunately, they don't know any of the terms and conditions about any of this. Let me give you a new copy.
Okay, thank you for doing that. I did see
I
that.
have mine.
And what the affiliates are asking is, to the degree that it's possible, to try to persevere upon the governor and the legislature to essentially delay the implementation of Phase 2 until they know what the rules are going to be. You know, what's unfortunate for us, when we talk about going into budget, nothing has been decided about rate setting. Nothing has been decided about who's going to make the decisions. And the commissioner there, Tumkus, readily admits that. He had previously given us all kinds of assurances that nothing would go forward until the rules were in place. But apparently he's been told that he's got a different schedule to keep to. And pretty much hell or high water is going to go forward. So right now, our only hope might be legislative relief. At the affiliates level, we have a certain void, of course, at the county affiliates. So we're looking at whether or not it makes sense to join ranks with the New Hampshire Healthcare Association for looking for legislative relief, because we can't, it's going to be difficult in the short term for going through the county part. So we are looking at different options there. I'll be meeting tomorrow again with the affiliates, because this has the potential of having some very, very, very serious operational and financial. Depending on how Medicaid managed care works, it could change how much money we get, when we get it, if we get it, and how we have to structure our, just in terms of getting prior approval, just for taking care of 103 people, being sure that they get the medical services they need. could suddenly become more complicated than it even is now. So if there is any pressure that you can bring to bear on the legislative, the sense of the affiliates is that rather than administrators going directly to the county delegations, that a decision or vote or encouragement by the Board of Commissioners of each county would carry more weight than it would be if it, the fear is that as administrators, we might be perceived as being self-serving. What we're really talking about is something that affects the county. It isn't just the county nursing homes.
Okay.
Now, a couple other things to bring you up to date on. One is the staff, resident, and family picnic that is coming up a week from Saturday. That's on the 20th at noontime. I want to be sure that you know that you are invited to, most cordially.
And the date of that is?
The 20th
20th.
at noontime. It's a week from the Saturday.
And you're gonna have a tent right out
Tent right out front.
here? Okay.
All we need is good weather and we'll be all set.
Yeah.
Now, if you are willing to, I have another engagement for you, and that would be for a recognition and dedication of our golf cart with the Bald Peak Community Fund. If it would work out for you, they would like to be here next Wednesday at 1 o'clock. So I'm not sure if you had your meeting in the morning and you had lunch, whether you would want to stay for a photo opportunity and a meet and greet with the Bald Peak community.
At 1 o'clock?
At 1 o'clock.
Can you make it at 12:30?
I bet they would be more than agreeable to that.
Because I gotta check with Gwinnett, a final confirmation, but I've got a meeting set up with you people to talk about the union contracts
No,
at
okay.
1 o'clock.
Okay, but 12:30 then I think would be fine.
12:30 would be okay, I think. Or earlier. We haven't set the agenda yet for the 17th.
Well, I think they're pretty flexible. They're holding the 17th, so if you want to pick a time.
11 o'clock?
Fine with me, anytime.
Noontime?
Let's see if we make it at 11 o'clock then.
11 o'clock.
And where would that be held?
That'd probably be right out front, I think, is going to give the best, right in front of Mountain View.
And if it's bad weather, it'll be just inside the door.
Yeah, I think so. Well, it'll still be outside because we'll have the golf cart under cover, under the porte cochere there.
Could we, at that time, I talked with you about recognizing a volunteer at the nursing home, and you said you might bring him into a commissioners meeting. I'm wondering if that time dedication or a recognition for that individual could be done at that time.
I think we might want to separate it only so that quite frankly, we're going to the Bald Peak Community Fund for yet another grant application, so keeping them front and center and then giving that individual his own time might make sense. So I'd recommend separating the two.
Okay. We've got an individual that I believe, I don't know if I didn't talk with anybody here, but we got an individual at the nursing home I think needs some recognition on his volunteering. He lost his wife at our nursing home, but is still coming, or at least he did.
Well, he's still coming.
And I think he's gone beyond the volunteer stage of being recognized. So I think we ought to recognize him for his volunteering and helping with other nursing home residents. So
I think it's a great idea.
you can set that up with some kind of plaque or something that we can recognize the
Definitely.
individual. And I think we ought to keep that in mind all the time. If we have people that are volunteering their time, and it's, it's not, I don't want to set any limits on it, but when we have somebody that goes beyond their own visiting over there to visit their relatives or whatever, and they're volunteering, I think we ought to recognize them as much as we can.
We should, because volunteers are oftentimes described as being the heart of an organization. We have very dedicated staff and caring staff.
Yep.
And volunteers bring something just a little bit different that ends up being very important to all of us.
Mhm, mhm.
The
Okay.
last thing I have for you is we got back our state survey results yesterday.
Yeah.
And Patty, Megan, and I are working diligently on that to address any issues and concerns.
We didn't get a
that were raised.
copy of that yet that I know of. You didn't bring any copies?
I did. Or at least I should have. And I know that, because I have to.
You want to brief us on the outcome of that survey?
Well, there are 8 items that the state is looking for a plan of correction for, and we need to submit that within 10 days. Virtually all are, none of this is unanticipated or new, because we're told about the exit interview. So pretty much all we have to do is to finalize. Some things are relatively minor, some things are of significant concern. None involved, on life safety, we had no problems at all. So, which was absolutely no issues, which is which ends up, that's usually where the expense comes when there are problems. We have nothing that's going to involve expense, some things that are going to involve some training, some supervision, and some changes in policy and practice. None that are major. It's things that we just need to correct.
For those listening to this video, this is a state survey that comes around once a year. There is a window of when to expect them, but yet it's a surprise when they move in on a Thursday or Wednesday and stay 2 or 3 days to look at everything in the nursing home, to make sure we're in compliance for safety. They look at about everything.
It's
Medical records, kitchen, temperature of food,
everything.
everything you can think of, which keeps us abreast of making sure that our residents are safe and sound in their home.
A team of 7 comes in for 3 days, and I give the state credit. They've come a long ways. It's very thorough, but it's not. They do a very thorough job, but they're very considerate and they were very they're very outspokenly appreciative of the quality of care that we give. So while they have cited us on certain things, they're not finding fault with our quality of care. They love the place, and they really admit this is the place they want to come. But there are things we can do.
With the new facility, we should be in pretty good shape for a state survey,
We should be, and
as
that's.
far as the facility is concerned.
Well, but it's not just the building, it's how you take care of the
Right.
building, and Bob and his crew have been attentive to all the details to be sure that all the safety things, everything's been done, all the changes that have been made to the building after the fact have been done appropriately and properly, and I mean, they're popping ceiling tiles, they're looking everywhere when it comes to life safety.
Mhm, mhm. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Howie, when they come with a crew of 7, is there one person that specializes in kitchens and food? Is there another one that specializes in heating and ductwork? Is there another one that specializes in
Medical records.
In medical records? Is there another that with resident care?
Well, it's interesting
Or
that
do
you
they
ask.
go around as a group of 7 and
Well,
pick at you?
the way it works is that there's a dedicated specialist to life safety, and the life safety inspection is typically 1 day, and that's actually all he does throughout the state. The rest of the team, the 6 or 7 others, all specialize in one area, but they rotate their responsibilities from year to year, from facility to facility. So you don't have just one person in the state looking at personnel or medical records. The idea being that each year you want somebody with fresh eyes taking a look at the same thing, which explains the difference where, one of the most frustrating things to administrators is the same thing, why are we cited today for the same thing that hasn't been an issue for the last 10 years? The rules haven't changed. It was fine last year, it was fine the year before. Well, it's a different person looking at it a little bit differently, perhaps more appropriately. So sometimes, we're looking at, at a couple things here. They were fine last year. We haven't done anything any different And it's not them being mean, but it's a different person looking at it perhaps a little bit more critically.
I think each member of the board ought to get a copy of the survey.
I'll do that
And when
for
you respond to that survey, I think each member of the board needs to get a copy of that also, as to what your response is.
That will be done, because we'll be
Okay.
getting the responses out in the middle of next week.
And do you have the survey, do you have a copy, Richard?
I have one here. Do you want me to make individual copies for you, so you can?
Yes,
I'll-
if
I'll
you
get
can do that.
individual, because I believe it's been, I'll check, but I think all the personal data, we'll need to treat it as very confidential, but the state I think all the personal health information has been removed, and all the personnel information's been removed, or
Okay.
redacted.
Okay. Have anything else for?
Nope.
Okay, we'll see you at 2 o'clock, I guess.
And,
But you coming into non-public,
yeah,
I see?
I
Yeah.
mean, I have a
Oh,
very
you got
brief.
non-public too?
At
Yeah,
10.
Yes, you do.
A very brief one. Now, is Lynette here, or will she be here too? I think we're
She
gonna
was
do it-
here, but I was told by her that she wouldn't be here, so I
Okay.
don't know if,
I'll check in with her to see. if
she's
she-
supposed to go to Concord for a hearing for us
Okay.
regarding a union, but, so I don't know, I didn't get a chance to ask her when she stepped in, so,
Well, I will check, and, but it's a very brief non-public, so it'll be a.
okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Very good.
Bob, since you're here,
Morning.
good morning.
Morning.
Can you bring us up, a little up to date? I don't want you to mention any figures. Bring us up to date on where we stand on probation area in the dining room, or the old nursing home.
Unless I'm directed otherwise, I've been taking solicitations for the
Mhm.
work there. I have one in hand. I have one that I met with Monday. I have yet to see a number, and I'm bringing someone over there today.
Hmm.
So hopefully by week's end, or at least by the time we meet next week, I'll have three
Okay.
proposals.
I think
That's my hope.
we definitely need to have it by the delegation's meeting on October 10th, a final, or,
We gotta be ready to go pretty near.
yeah. And I hope that those people that you've talked with can get it done by the middle of November, if it's approved by the delegation. Go ahead.
When I talked to Bob the other day, we talked about him being the general contractor on the project. Is it possible for Bob to go out and get bids for the individual parts of the job and act as our own general contractor?
That's kind of a can of worms, I think. If we had decided that prior to going out the bid, there may not have been a problem.
Well, the only problem I can see with it is he knows the prices that we've
Yeah.
been soliciting bids, and not having an opening, he knows what the prices are.
There's no doubt that I can do it, and I can most likely do it for less money than a general contractor can, but I don't think I could do it as fast as a general contractor can.
I think the liability comes up, insurance comes up. I know Scott Carr petitioned off the lobby out here and created 2 officers out of that. It's still not really soundproof, which it was supposed to be, but he just went ahead and did it. Plus, in the sheriff's department, they've remodeled or redone their facilities in dispatch. A lot of that was done by deputies. Same is true for over at the barn. They remodeled that, and that was all done by deputies doing that work. I'm not sure whether it's done on deputies' time or volunteered, or I don't know anything about that. I don't know. It's a good question.
Well, it's definitely something we should think about in the future, anyway. we don't wanna lose the probation office because Bob is the general contractor and he doesn't have enough pressure to put on somebody to get the job done.
Well, let's look at the farm. They were building a pole barn. That was not all done by Will. Some of that was contracted out, I believe. I could be
don't know,
wrong.
I wasn't here.
Hmm?
I wasn't here, I don't know. It's just something to
I
think
don't-
about in the future.
Maybe I'm misspeaking. I can't recall any subcontractor that came in to do any work on it, actually.
I think
Anyway.
one of our subcontractors was also a resident over in the big hotel.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, okay. Hopefully you get those bids in and we can take action on them for next week. This morning you said the air conditioning is in there. Did any of those people that you've talked with considering air conditioning?
Well, I've told them all to include air conditioning. One of the
Okay.
bids that I received already did not include air conditioning. And I'm not sure why you didn't include it, but I have an idea of how much it would cost.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, we appreciate the work you're doing. It's not probably in your job description. You're the maintenance person at the new nursing home, which brings up another subject that I think we need to get a 5-year plan as to the maintenance for the new nursing home. Hopefully you have either started working on it or will start working on it so that we can have a plan for the future as to what expenses that we might be budgeting for.
Incurring in the next few years.
Yeah, yep. And that's to me, I think that's a tough thing to put your hands on, to figure out what's going to be, has to be done within the next 5 years in the new nursing home, being all new. Anyway, good luck and please work on it.
Will do.
Appreciate all the work that you do for us.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're at the point of a work session.
Yep,
You got anything that you want to bring up, Commissioner Babson?
whole bunch.
Okay,
I talked with Kathy Gary about our
yep,
reconciling bank accounts and having some kind of process to make sure it's getting done. She was very supportive of it. I would suggest that you two take a look. She wanted to go with the one that has all of them listed on one sheet.
okay, that's this one?
Yeah. And I think we ought to get started on it as soon as possible. Maybe have a few of them, get the staff to print up a few of these so that,
You got a date on this as to when it would be brought before us for review?
well, no.
You said
but-
it's done by month, but by the middle of the month, we should receive this, or what? This is something for our benefit, right? So we
Right,
know
and at
exactly
the end
where
of
we
each
stand.
month, I would think on the 30th or the 31st, this would come up here, and I don't think you need a date, that at the end of the month, we want to know which ones of these accounts have been balanced and which ones haven't, and if they haven't, why not?
Okay, by end of month.
I mean, it's been a huge problem here that hasn't been getting done, and it should be.
Yep. Okay,
And so we could start with September.
okay.
First one.
Thank you for doing that.
The pole bond bid is ready to go out. We ought to get going on that because we're gonna lose $3,800. I'll take it upon myself and Will to call the insurance company and see how far along we have to get in the operation to ensure that we get.
But Kathy Gary said it had to be completed by a certain date in the end of October or first part of November?
Yeah. So we better call the insurance company and see if we can get an extension.
Okay.
Another thing I think that we ought to discuss as a board is what we're gonna do on our budgeting next time around for retirement. You know, are we gonna put in the budget, if everybody retires, what we'd have to pay? Or are we gonna put in a small amount to cover maybe the top 3 or 4 most expensive employees with the most time if they retire? It's absolutely ridiculous that we don't have it in the budget and somebody retires and we gotta pay them $13,000, $15,000, $20,000, and we budgeted 8, there's no budget in it, in that line item, we don't even have a line item for it.
Mhm.
That's just crazy budgeting as far as I can see. We get it in there, we don't have to spend it.
If
Or put it in a capital reserve fund, put it somewhere.
yeah, well, I think there ought to be a separate line item for retirement and not to be used unless not to be used for any other items
Purpose.
except for retirement.
Yep.
It needs to be so that we can we have a required number of days to be able to pay out to anybody retiring. And it's something like 10 days, I believe. So I'd rather see it in a line item rather than where we have to go to the delegation to get approval.
Excuse me, what do you mean we have 10 days? We have 10 days to pay them?
Yep,
Oh, okay.
once they
Once
resign
they
or
retire.
are terminated or retire, we have so many days to pay out their sick
Okay.
leave, vacation leave, or whatever.
To me, it's just totally irresponsible that we don't have some funding somewhere to cover these people, or some of them anyway.
I think what happens is if there's any money left over in wages, whereby we had somebody leave or there was a vacancy and we weren't paying them, that is money left over, and that's where it is used. But you're right, there should be a purpose, and that, I believe in the union contract for the sheriff's department, and I'd have to look at it again. I believe there is money in there for payout upon their retirement. But I think it's already in the union contract. That's for union employees. So, you're right, if somebody else retires at non-union, we don't have any coverage.
Well, it's something we ought to think about, we'll
Yeah.
start thinking about for the budget for next year. I mean, we've got to sell the delegation on doing it.
Mhm.
I've been told by certain members, they don't like the word slush fund, but we've got to have some kind of fund somewhere to pay people that, I don't know what our unfunded mandate is here, but I'll bet it's pretty high.
It could be if we have several people.
We've got
Retire or resign.
Two of our staff downstairs have been here over 20 years. If they leave, they'll break
Yep.
the bank.
Yep,
Yes, and if we have 2 or 3 leaving at the same time,
yeah.
that will be.
Well, let's put an item in the budget for that particular purpose.
Okay.
And also, I have an item,
Yeah?
if I may. Jason Henry was talking about an officer donating sick time. I think
Yes.
this would be good if we have like a policy, a sick bank policy, that everyone is donating some sick time. And when someone need it, that they can just withdraw from that bank.
I think I'd have to go back and look at our policy. I think it's already in our policy that people can donate their sick time to someone who needs it.
But I think
so guess the
Ashley's point is, Dave, that it goes in a bank that they draw out
Yes.
of rather than.
Yeah, so it is already there, everyone donate. So then we
Okay.
approve if someone need it, because what we have now, the person is waiting, one person donate a little bit, then they don't, then it is not there, it is who is donating and what is there, and if it is not there, they're not getting anything. But if we have like a bank and everyone
How would,
donates something, it is there.
It sounds like a good point. How would that bank be established? Would it be people that would donate their
Yeah,
time to
if-
that bank?
Yeah, if everyone donates some sick time, it is there, and if someone need it, they can just withdraw from the bank without
Okay.
approval. So it is already there, if we establish that.
To play the devil's advocate, if I were working there and I was gonna donate, and I had a lot of time, and I might need it myself, I don't think I'd be apt to put it in the bank. I'd be.
But they could take it out of the bank.
After they put it in.
Sure.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
ask for it.
That answers that.
Off the top of my head, that's what I would say.
No, that answers, well, my question is, maybe the person wouldn't wanna give up his time to a bank where he might give it up to an individual, but if he gives it up to the bank and get it back, he made a good point.
Yeah.
He hasn't lost anything, or she hasn't lost anything.
If everyone donates a little bit, we have a bank there.
I think we need to look at that sick leave policy to see if there's a cap and what happens if they donate time. Because a lot of people, some people, would not use their sick time. And they could accumulate up more than what the cap says. And they could turn around and donate that time so they don't lose it to someone else. I think we need to look at the whole picture of sick
Yeah.
time, how they contribute, how they donate, what's the cap on their sick time? Is it different from the union contract, non-union? I think we need to take a whole look at that whole picture. Okay, well, the retirement issue is a subject that we
Okay.
should
Next
consider.
one.
Yep.
Ms. Nason came in here and we
Yep.
discussed her problem. Someone should be writing her a letter and informing
Yep.
her of the results, even though she heard it verbally.
Yep.
And the last thing is, I saw the new young man that's running the vocational portion of Kingswood High School,
Yep.
and I asked him to call Cheryl this morning and let us know where he was in splitting the poles for the bridge, for the walk path. I don't believe he called, so I will call him later today.
Okay. You got anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Ashley, you got anything under work session?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. I thought I saw something in the minutes that we had to react to. Well,
Did you approve these when Cheryl was in here?
what's that?
Did you approve last week's minutes?
Yes,
Yes,
when
we
Cheryl
did.
was here?
Yeah.
There was nothing else corrected. And there was only one correction by
I'll get that from you.
Commissioner
Okay.
Kenney. I don't remember it.
Okay. Regarding changes in wages for people who
Oh, yeah.
are filling in.
Yes.
You want to do that in non-public or in public?
Well, I'd like to do it non-public, but I don't think it fits in under any of the categories.
Compensation.
Yeah, but not,
Compensation,
but we're not talking about, we're talking about setting up a policy, how we're gonna do it, not how much we're paying an individual. We're discussing a policy, how you wanna handle the policy from now on. Not an individual's pay. If it was individual's pay, I could see it being non-public, but
I thought we were talking about
Policy.
individual pay. What would you want to set up for a policy?
well, I would think if we're gonna increase, if we're gonna change things, we'd set a policy before we, otherwise you'll be giving one individual perhaps one thing, and it's just a situation, and another situation, and another person doing exactly the same thing, we get something different. I would think we'd be trying to set up some kind of a policy that would when we establish what we're gonna do, we have something to fall back on. This is our policy.
Okay. I think in that policy, it has to be acted on by case-by-case basis, but it could be put on a percentage.
Well, if we got into discussing it, that's what I was gonna suggest, you X percentage of the individual, the former supervisor's pay, because theoretically, you've got a learning curve in here somewhere, you wouldn't start the person
Yeah.
with the same amount of money, I wouldn't think, unless they got history.
All right, I think we need to discuss that, and I think we need to discuss a percentage or a figure or whatever. We'll do it in non-public, under compensation. Okay? Anything else that we want to talk about today
I just say
that would not be in non-public?
if it's non-public and it's the policy, I will vote no, we don't go into non-public. That's just so you know ahead of time. So you two can vote 2-1.
Wait a minute, say that again.
If we're going to just go in and discuss the policy of how we're going to pay people,
No,
and you want to do it non-public, I'm going to vote no for that.
okay. No, I'm talking about
If we're talking
Coming
about
up
individuals, I will
with a
vote yes.
figure. Yeah,
Yeah, but first, we need to have a policy before we go into pay this individuals. You said,
okay. Right now, the way
you
it
said it's
stands,
case-by-case basis, but I think you're talking about, you mentioned, I believe last week, the jobs that are required by law, that they
Right.
should be compensated.
yep,
So then it is not case-by-case basis, because if you have a policy, if they are required by law and we compensate it, there are only certain positions. So we should establish a policy and give everyone the same amount, so that it's not case-by-case basis.
which would mean we'd probably set it as a percentage, so that it would fit all cases. Right? All right. So you do not want to set a figure in non-public as to what, we have two positions right now that require it to be filled.
Right.
Superintendent of the jail and the DON. Those are required positions.
Right.
And we've got people filling in those positions.
Right.
So do you want to discuss the policy right now as to what it should be?
Yes, I said it.
Okay.
I won't vote to go into non-public.
All right, what would
To just
your
have-
ideas be on the policy?
My policy recommendation would be something like this, take it or leave it, or whatever. 80% for the first 90 days, 90% for the second 90 days,
Wait a minute, 80%?
for the first 90 days.
90
the
days.
Person's been required to fill his position.
80% of what?
80% of the
Position that they're filling in for. In other words, if somebody's getting 100,000, they leave, and the person is getting 80,000 in their present position, they would get 80% of what that
That would be
person that left.
$80,000, David, that's not a good example.
Too high?
No, but it's the same
Okay.
thing. But you're right, it would be 80% of what the current, what the immediate previous superintendent was receiving.
Well, let's say, let's say that the person has had 100,000, for example, and the person that is going to be filling that $100,000 position is already making 80,000,
Which is what you said, he'd still be getting 80.
and still be getting 80, that's right. So what do you mean? Want to explain it a little bit further, for clarification?
Yeah, make it 120,000, and then 80%, and then you get a little bit more. My problem is you could have a superintendent or
Why
a
don't you make it
director.
80% of the difference between the two?
I know I'm just a minute taker.
80%
Can I ask a
of-
question?
Sure.
Yeah,
What is the Human Resource Director's recommendation?
what's that?
What is the HR Director's recommendation on this? Has she made a recommendation on this?
No.
No.
Just seems like maybe that's where it should come from.
We have not.
We certainly will include her. I'd like to get our position first, and then she can throw it in with her thoughts. David, yours was 80% of the difference?
Yeah. In other words, 80% of 20,000 in my example
Not a bad idea.
would be added to the person
Current pay of
filling.
The person
Yeah.
filling in. Not a bad idea.
So,
80% of the difference
yeah,
for the first 90 days? I mean, it could be 75, it could be 85. I just pulled these figures out of the air, but to me, it seems reasonable. Then it would be 90% for the second of the difference for the second 90 days. And if they're there, if it takes us that long to hire someone, then certainly they ought to get 100% while we're biding our time.
Asha, you got comments on that?
I just want to check first what other counties are doing.
Did you check on that? When did you check?
We were supposed to bring it up at the county's meeting, which was canceled.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
And that was what the
Yep,
direction
Yep.
was from the board, to
Thank you.
find out what the other counties are doing.
that's right.
And they did not have a meeting, so
Do you have a suggestion, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I gave you mine.
Okay. Why don't we
Percentage
find out
of the
what our
difference.
human resources, what her suggestions?
Lynette, you got a suggestion? Off the top of your head? I know you weren't planning on it.
yeah, I wasn't planning on this right now, I don't have.
Well, we're just kicking
I-
around ideas
I
here to
had
figure it out.
solicited some municipalities and some other counties. There's some languages, but most of the language references when you have a pay scale, and we don't have a pay scale, so therefore they're not applicable
Mm-hmm.
to our county because we do not have a pay scale for those types of positions. And then typically it would be a percentage of the difference, like you're talking.
Mm-hmm. Any further comments?
Only that we can't be the only county that's ever been in this situation. Somebody must have some policies.
They do, and they have to do with pay scales.
Right.
And we don't have pay scales, so it doesn't, it's not applicable. We can't, it's not apples to apples.
Well, that's my suggestion with David's addition.
You want to wait and take action on it next week, or
I'd like
we're
to-
delaying this, but it
Yeah,
would be
but-
retroactive?
Yeah, we can delay it because if we know the set amount and we do it right, we have all the information and what we want to compensate, then we give that to the person, yes, we can go back to the.
Okay. All right. We will table it until next week.
Yeah, I think we ought to come up with some agreement on making it retroactive. I don't think the employees should have to suffer because we can't come up with a decision today.
No. Table
If they're
until
doing the job, they ought to be paid for it.
the 17th.
Does anybody have any other ideas about how to do it?
No, we cannot ask you, right?
It's hard, I mean, I've talked to some other superintendents, they all have wage scales, and then,
Yeah.
so it makes a big difference in wage scales.
Okay, we table it till the 17th. Let's take action on
So
it.
when is the meeting from the association? It is
What's
rescheduled?
that?
What, it is rescheduled the meeting for when? The association meeting? The
I'm
New
sorry.
Hampshire Association meeting,
Oh,
it is rescheduled for when? Which date?
they haven't said
There's
yet.
no date, okay.
No.
So that's probably next month then? It's maybe October. Oh no, it will be September because your one was just canceled.
They said in the email that I got was that they would hold it at a later time this month.
Okay, so it's in September.
So-
Okay.
But, Lynette, you did not poll any of the other counties,
Yes. I
You
sent
did?
out, yeah.
but it's based on wage scale,
Just so much.
so that's not gonna help us. All right, table it until next week. I would also like to talk in non-public regarding compensation under RSA 91A32A regarding the DON position. Okay? Anything else to be brought up before we go into non-public?
I have a couple of things I was working on.
Go
that
ahead.
I need to ask you about. I went through the public meeting minutes and some of the videotapes from January till present
Wow.
and found, as best I could,
Yeah.
when you had non-public sessions. I didn't get into all of the detail that the previous recording secretary had done. Mine just says when you had a session, or if there was more than one, there, it's shown. And then if the minutes have been released or not. So, because I don't have access to the non-public meeting minutes.
Yep.
If somebody could be assigned to just check whether the minutes are on file,
Yep.
the ones that aren't shaded. And then also if I've missed any, if there are any additional sessions in the folder or however you keep them.
Okay.
And then I can update that. Thanks.
I'll give that to the clerk. She has access to the non-public minutes.
One of the other things that the previous secretary did was, and it's my understanding after rereading some of the requirements of the position, that to keep a list of action items for the
Right.
Board of Commissioners.
Yep.
And last week I had mentioned that I was going to put together also a different agenda format for you to look at.
Okay.
So I only have 2 copies. Sorry, I didn't make a third, but you could share. See if you had any suggestions of a better way to keep track.
So
You
this
ought to make
is-
a copy of that.
And for the action items on the second page, I just went through the last 2 months' worth of commissioners' meetings, and anything that stuck out to me, I put it on there. I don't even know if you've already addressed some of those things.
Very good, thank you. One suggestion I was gonna make to you and Melissa was when Jason brings in his report, don't waste your time putting it in the minutes. What they've done in the past is just
Make a
taken this
copy.
sheet and stapled it to the back of the minutes.
Okay.
As long as there are no inmate names on it.
Yeah.
You don't put inmates, okay.
Well, one of the things that and this relates to that, but one of the things the performance audit recommends is that your agenda be more action-oriented. So the thought is that this is prepared on, say, Monday, and the department heads all submit the corresponding supporting documents to you ahead of time so that you are given a packet with that agenda. And the items are listed out so that it's already all together and the administrative assistant has it all. Of course, if there's anything last minute that comes up that they bring with them, then that could be added afterwards, but that way you have a whole packet, even if it's, and also even if the administrative assistant decides maybe she'll scan the packet and send it to you, so you have it on Monday,
Yep.
then you have a hard copy here waiting for you on Wednesday or something. But that could be one of the items included. I don't know if that would put a burden on the superintendent to have it 2 days earlier. Okay.
Okay, I have a comment. They were talking about agenda. I like to add and request.
This is what she's
If
looking
we have agenda and we're going to have votes, important votes about contracts, hiring, I like to have it on the agenda so we know we're voting, because I missed the important vote from Clausen. I think if you have important things that needs to be done, you need to put it on the agenda, so I know it is there. There was nothing there.
So on that.
All the contracts or settlements, or he said you're going to hire an attorney for whatever, if it is on the agenda, we can all read it, what important votes, what actions we need to take on these items.
Okay.
So we make sure that we are all there, or if not, I can call in.
So on the proposed form that I gave you, notice under work session where it says A, B, C, D, and E, that could be a place where you list those items you expect to take a vote on, things that you know ahead of time.
But also on the agenda, so if it is on the agenda, so we know we're going to vote on these items.
And also that way, too, if the public is particularly interested in a certain topic that they're trying to follow, it would be available to them and they could make arrangements to attend or submit something.
And also, I think on the agenda, right in the beginning, we should ask if any additions should be added to the agenda
Oh,
that morning.
okay. So maybe under the
That would be,
attendance?
Right at the
or-
beginning.
Right, okay. Some boards do that.
Before public comment.
yep.
And I added the Pledge of Allegiance, but it's certainly discussion. I don't think the commissioners have ever done that.
No, we haven't. Anything else that you can think of that should be added to the agenda, meeting agenda? Call to order, pledge allegiance, attendance, any items to be added to the agenda, public comment, review minutes of previous meetings.
Like I asked, I believe, a couple years, if we have work session, can we just add the items, what we're going to discuss?
Right, well, she's
Yeah.
got A, B, C, so we
if
add those in there.
Yes, I'm asking
Okay.
for a while, so we know what we're talking about.
And then at the end of the work session, we have public comment, and then we have non-public sessions. Okay. Sounds good, thank you for doing that.
And then the action item list, the second page, is that an okay format? And it can be updated every week if items, if someone lets me know when things have been
Yeah,
finished.
how does this work, Melissa? Number one and number two, taken care of, for instance.
Okay,
The whiteboard turned out to be $132, so we decided we'd go with a $3 calendar from
okay. Maybe the action items list could be one of the bullets under work session that you're just gonna scan it and see. if you
Well,
have
no,
any
I was gonna
comments
get
on
back
it.
to you, because this is very handy, but now how do we get back to you that we've taken care of?
Well, let's say.
Check it out.
Unless we did it, if it happens to be done while you're sitting here, that's easy, but you weren't here when we decided on the whiteboard.
Right,
And the bank account, we took care of that today, and so that's
Mhm.
taken care of.
so let's.
But you know that,
Oh,
so you
sorry.
can take them off.
So let's say today is the,
Then I've responded to Cadelli's questions.
if
We
this
have,
is
that's what we
the,
need to know.
if this is the day that I gave you that action, then during your meeting, under work session, you would pull out your action list
Check 'em.
and tell me how to update the list.
Yep.
Like what's still pending or what's been taken care of, like you're doing right now. And then I could just move
Okay.
things up.
So let's go to number 4 on here. Performance audit response, finance manager, human resource director, commissioners. What do you expect us to do under that item?
That's just to remind you
Have
that
we-
that's something that
Yeah.
you've obligated yourselves to the delegation, or they've asked you to do, that you're still working on, so maybe that's where you
Mhm.
discuss it and you set a deadline amongst yourself of when you're gonna be ready.
Well,
It's just to give you a heads up, because a month from now, the delegation's gonna ask you, where is it?
I understand that, and I'm with you 100%, except the performance audit response, the only thing I can remember is we were asked to to comment on it.
We asked the finance manager, we asked the HR director to come in with a report as to the matrix, the auditing performance. Come in with their ideas, so what's the progress been made to date?
And maybe what I would do then is on the last meeting of September, you'd ask me to add that to the work session, that you're gonna pull all those together and review them and put together something for the delegation.
Mhm.
It's a reminder list for
Yeah.
you, so
That's
we keep
excellent.
the
I think it's
conversation
great.
going,
It's
so you don't
excellent.
forget things. And
So should we, at some point, do you have the action list on here?
No, I don't, because that was just a rough,
Well, one of the
Agenda.
items we ought to have on here is to go down the action list.
so it should be on every
Yeah.
agenda, just,
Yeah.
okay. Maybe not even part of the
Oh,
work session.
that could be underneath the work session.
Maybe it could always be A, or it could always be E, so it's always there. But
Well, I
Okay.
would make it A,
Why-
so it's the first thing we do.
Okay. All right.
Under new business? Okay,
It'd actually be old business, wouldn't it?
yeah, this would be old
Ongoing.
business.
And then any calendar items, just keep that rolling at the bottom, so,
Mhm.
like you did today, you pulled out your book and,
Something else that I think is missing here, and that is any correspondence that may come in,
okay.
which the clerk should bring forward any correspondence that, and so the clerk would be responsible for that. Anything that would come in to me, I would give to the clerk, and that could be reported under correspondence.
If I get all the information, yes.
I'd rather see
If I
that come
get
through
all the
our-
information.
See
Our
what?
assistant, I'd rather see it come through Cheryl. Otherwise, it could get caught sitting on a desk for a while.
If she gave it to me,
Oh, that's
I can bring
possible.
it up to the meeting.
Well, that's something to consider, but I think we ought to start having any correspondence that comes in brought to the board
Formally.
formally. Yeah.
What is the process now when something's received downstairs? Do you each just get it, a
If it
copy of it on your
requires
desk?
an action,
or-
it is brought here.
Okay. But let's say something comes in on a Thursday, what happens to it? Downstairs, she opens the mail, there's something.
They open up the mail, yep, and they will put it on, lots of times they put it on my desk, but it could go to anybody.
Okay.
Usually it comes on mine because I'm the one that's here and sees it, and then I
Okay.
tell her what to do with it. Well, that's how it works.
That's, okay.
I mean, one of the thoughts though is that is it also kept in a file somewhere? Because once it's here and it's a
Good
public
point.
document.
Yep,
Usually Cheryl, if it's important, she'll photocopy and put one on each of her desks. 91A, I can't call David or Asher and say, look, we got this here.
Mhm.
So Cheryl has to do it, or Lynette has to.
when it has to do it, yep,
So
between the
like-
two of them.
Like today, Commissioner Kenney brought up several items, correspondence type items, and you
Mhm.
decided who was going and what was happening. So are those things that could be scanned and included as part of your packet that you get on your email ahead of time?
Well, I've gotten
Or-
everything she came in with. I've
Right.
gotten it. Somebody's made a copy and it's gone, or they've sent it to all three of us.
The idea, anything that comes in, each commissioner should get a copy of it.
Yep.
And I'm just trying to figure out a way to more organize it into packet type things, so each meeting follows,
Yeah.
all the documentation is with it.
Mhm. Okay.
Of all of your suggestions here, Melissa, I find the action item the best one, because we sit here and go over them. I make notes every week. Most of these, now that they're here, I recognize them. A lot of them have been taken care of. For instance,
Which is okay.
it was about a month ago, we asked Will about the green dump truck, but nothing's been said to him since, so we,
I talked about it last week.
I think
was it
was
last
brought
week?
up last week.
Okay.
But I don't think you made a decision whether it would be sold in total or if it was gonna be parted out.
And we asked him to,
But you just
That's
left it up to him.
his
to
responsibility,
manage
yeah.
the
We want to get rid of it.
responsibility.
If he can get money for it by parts, fine.
Okay.
any way he can get
Get
the
rid of
money,
it.
it's his
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. I mean, some of this stuff, we have to rely on our people to take care of. But we've got another issue that we need to talk about, and that is when we hire somebody, how the commissioners get involved in that hiring process.
Yep.
Basically, the most important thing, I think, is the setting of wages, because we're responsible for the budget. I don't particularly care whether, I always ask if it's in your budget. That's fine, but still, I don't want to get blindsided by hiring somebody $100,000 when I don't think the position deserves $100,000. So I think the board has to come up with an idea as to if it's a position over 40,000 or over 50,000, then the board ought to be advised as to, before the hiring, before the offering, as to what the dollar amount is.
Right. We're the ones that are gonna take the heat on the wage,
Right.
and we at least ought to have the input into, I don't have a problem with at the nursing home with an LNA or something, but you start hiring superintendents and department heads, I think we should be included somehow.
Okay. All right, let's discuss that under non-public. Is that reasonable?
No,
No?
we're setting a policy, we're not talking about anybody's individual wages.
Okay.
But why don't we make that for next week and come in here with our notes for next week on what we'd like to see. Maybe the three of us put our heads together and come up with something. I don't feel like doing it right this minute because I haven't really thought about it.
Okay. There's several alternatives under that.
Good, that's what we're here for. We'll
Yeah. Okay.
think about them and talk them over.
I just need,
Yep.
May I just add to that, I know, just for the public's information as well as for clarification, that department heads are not hired unless it goes through the commissioners. It's all of the other positions, because the department heads report to the commissioners, but other positions report to the department heads. So I don't want there to be a perception out there that there have been decisions made for department heads that you have not been a part of. This is for all of the other positions.
No, department heads we've been part of
Exactly.
all the way through.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep. And we actually interview candidates.
The way it was just stated, it could have been perceived by people of the public that there have been department head decisions, and that is not the case.
No.
Those people who report to you go through a process that goes through you, and offers and all that goes through the board. But the rest of the positions throughout the county have, from what I understand, gone through the department heads and HR.
Okay.
Can I
Okay,
make
go
a
ahead.
suggestion, Mr.
Yep.
Chairman? During the week, if we come up with any ideas how we want to do this, that you send it to HR so that she can send it out to each one of us, so that
Okay.
we can think about the other
Yep.
other person's ideas before we come in here next Wednesday.
Okay. Okay. Anything else we need to bring up?
I had a couple, I just need a couple clarifications on the minutes. Commissioner Babson said he has the RFP ready for the pole barn,
Yes.
but I didn't hear who is sending it out, where it's being advertised, or a deadline,
You didn't hear that because they weren't mentioned.
or I didn't know if that was a part of it, if that needed to be included in the minutes, or...
I hadn't thought about it. Will came up and brought me up a copy of what he needs, and we're gonna put it out. I would assume we're gonna put it in the Conway Daily Sun, put it on our webpage, and you have to find another one.
We've got a policy as to where bids go, correct?
I'm not sure, Cheryl and Kathy probably have that because that goes to the business office.
And Commissioner Sorensen said that someone should call the insurance company about the pole barn. Who will be doing that?
He's doing that, yeah.
You were talking about retirement account,
Yep.
paying out retirement. Just for clarification, it's actually accrued time, it's not retirement, right? The county doesn't pay retirement.
No.
No, you're right.
You're right.
So it's accruals.
But that's what, if someone
Earned time.
retires, it's sick time and
Okay.
Sick time
and vacation time.
All right, thank you.
Properly would be accrued time, you're right.
Okay. And then the last thing was, somebody needs to write a letter to Miss Mason.
Yep.
Who?
When Ed's gonna do that,
When
Okay.
it's gonna happen.
Do what?
regarding Becky Mason.
Her request
Issue.
that we turned down last week, she wants it in writing, so
Okay.
Thank
it
you.
would seem to me to be an HR responsibility.
Anything else?
No, that should,
Okay.
thank you.
Anything else for the board? to
Well,
bring up?
just one thing, with the pole barn, where do you want to put the third notification?
We got the website, we got downstairs, we got the Sun.
Well, wait a minute. I don't think there's gonna be any construction people coming through the door every morning at 8 o'clock to see what we got here to
But we have to we publish the agenda down there too.
I know,
How many people come in through the door to see the agenda?
well, they can see that on the webpage too, but
Okay.
we gotta I think we have to legitimately put this out to another medium to.
Well, what covers the southern part of the county?
Well, so is it the Granite's, the Solomon Salmon Press, or is it the,
Foster's Daily Democrat?
and,
Forster's? Are you saying Forster's?
That's,
Do you know who covers the bottom?
that's the other one that goes south of here. So,
Yeah.
it would appear to me if you put it in the Conway Daily Sun and the Granite State, you're basically putting it in the same
County.
locale, same people. I would think we'd go to Foster's if it's the cheapest of the, it covers Dover and Rochester.
it's very expensive.
Okay.
Very.
All
You'll
right.
find
And
it.
there's a free construction website that the business office uses as well, too, that they put it on as well.
Oh, well, then that's fine, that's the third one.
That's the place to put it.
Yep.
Maybe Ed's video is the fourth one.
Huh?
Maybe Ed's
video is
video
the
is the
fourth
fourth
one,
one.
yeah.
There we go.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
No? Okay, we need to go to non-public. Could we change the order and go to Robin? Are you ready?
What about the public input?
I'm sorry, you're right. Public input? Yes, Ed?
This is in regards to communicating for contracts and bids for work needed. Facebook is free, and you can control the content completely. All you have to do is shut off everything except your posting. If you post that can go around the state for free. It's an avenue that the nursing home has used, and it's been very successful, and the administration could also use it.
Let's find somebody under 40 that knows how to rock, do that thing and send it out. Tell them to do it. Can you help us with it, Ed, or Melissa?
It's very easy.
I don't know, I'm not under 40.
Oh, okay. We'll up it, 45?
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really good suggestion.
Okay.
What do you do, scan it in?
Magic. It's magic.
Anything else for
Yes.
public input?
Morning,
Yes,
Commissioner.
sir. Go ahead.
Money.
In regards to our previous private conversations
Yes.
and so forth, in regards to your private agriculture, both you and Commissioner Babson, I'd like to introduce to you this film. that you have
Okay.
somewhat-
What's the title again?
Why in the world are they spraying?
Okay.
Has a lot to do with our ecology and everything, and the effects.
What's hitting the news right now is one of the lakes, one of the Great Lakes is being polluted by agriculture. Phosphorus being the major fertilizer that's causing algae. Who's that done by? Who's that?
Murphy, and there's a co-producer also,
Okay.
Ossipee or something like that.
Okay, let's, anything else, public input? If not, thank you for doing that.
John, can we have this for a while?
Sure.
You want to look at it first?
Yeah.
When you get through with it, I'd like to look at it. Okay? Okay, let's move into non-public. We've got at least 3 items under non-public. I'm suggesting that we go, Robin's here, let's take her first. So I would move that we go into non-public under RSA 91A3, paragraph 2A. Robin, fill us in as to, is this personnel? Is it, what's the subject?
Yes, personnel.
What?
Personnel.
Personnel? Okay,
David, I have a question.
yep.
They're all A3, paragraph 2A.
You're right. I didn't notice that. Yep.
We don't have to come in and go out of, as we've been doing, so it's part 1, part 2, part 3.
Okay.
We can do this all as one movement, right?
Yep.
All right, I will back off my motion and not include the county attorney. Just say we go into non-public under RSA 91A3, paragraph 2A.
For personnel reasons.
And they're all personnel, right? Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Second, roll call?
Commissioner Kenney, yes. Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Babson?
Yes.
Okay, we are now in non-public. Let's take a 5-minute recess so people can...
Freshen up the old comp.
You're gonna stay, Ed? Because this is gonna go...
We have
Um,
a few non-public.
Do you need Cheryl?
We're gonna go to non-public also at 2 o'clock.
Cheryl.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
For a hearing. And at that time, I will ask whether the people want it public or non-public and go from there. So it's up to you what you want to do, but that would be the agenda item at 2 o'clock. And that could go on until 4 o'clock. So unless you want to stay and we come back in, we're not going to take any business up other than report that whatever action that we can report that was done in non-public, if we can report it, we'll come out of non-public. In public, we will say that the non-public was sealed and report anything that we can report.
I just wanted to add, if I may, that the reason why you were having separate public sessions was so you can more easily release as you go. If you have it in one unit, then you're going to have to redact a large non-public session. That was the main reason why you began to separate them. I just wanted to
Okay.
make you aware of that.
No, this is, we're going for the same reasons, personnel, so it will still be reported in 3 different sessions.
Can we report it as part 1?
Yeah, we
Part
still
2,
will
part
have,
3?
yeah, we can write it up, that we can write it up any way we want,
That we would release part 1 but not part 2 or
Yes.
part 3?
because it is just the same non-public session, but we have different people in, so we have first, like, example, the county attorney, then maybe somebody from a jail is coming, and maybe somebody from a nursing home. So it will still be written up that way, 3 different ones.
I was just reminding you of why you had it separated, that's all.
I believe we had it separated because we also going for different items into non-public.
Yeah, I think if we had,
Like one-time litigation, and there was something else going on, and it was evaluation, so.
well, we do have, so I'm under 2A.
We're all the same on
We're all the
David.
same today, so we're fine. We're going into non-public, and we have different people coming in, and we'll read them up this way.
Okay, it's all under dismissal, promotion, or compensation. Okay.